Well, everybody, my name is Cameron Williams, and we are Progressive AF. I'm here with my co-host,
Mark Girdler.
And we are starting this podcast to give a voice to the progressive movement. That because we think that we lack a progressive voice here in Decatur, Illinois, and the Illinois in general. There's a lot of conservative voices out there pitching the right wing talking points. And we definitely believe that with the progressive movement that is sweeping the nation, that we need to have more of a voice out there. So we are starting this podcast to really give the progressives a voice to talk about what needs to be talked about and what needs to be changed in this country, this city, this state. I'm Cameron Williams. I started getting into politics around 2012, around the Obama-Romney election when I was still in college. I definitely got more involved in politics with the 2015-2016 Bernie Sanders campaign, as I think most people did. I mean, Bernie Sanders is the one who started the whole progressive movement. I am definitely a Bernie Sanders endorser. I try to work for his campaign as much as possible. Everyone here is definitely a Bernie Sanders supporter. Everyone at Progressive AF is a Bernie Sanders supporter. We just believe in everything that he stands for. And I got into politics because of Bernie Sanders, and because we need to make a change in this country, in this world that we live in. It's really rotten. It's rotting away by the corrupt, and the greedy. And we really need to have a voice. So that's why I got into politics here. Mark, why'd you get into it?
Anger. I just got tired of seeing a small group of people controlling everything. It was like if you didn't have the right power, the right connections in Decatur, you couldn't get anything done. So I just kind of wanted to start looking for some answers, and I thought maybe I would just kind of embarrass people maybe. And instead I found like real, genuine corruption that just, as far as I looked, it just kept going and going. I founded a website called DPL Watchdogs, and through that we've exposed a lot of internal emails, a lot of, sketchy behavior from local politicians and bureaucrats, but unfortunately we're kind of drowned out because our newspaper is biased, our radio station is certainly biased, so this would be a good chance to be able to get the information out to people without it being filtered through, local
there's
power
a lot
interests.
of right-wing influence here in Decatur, isn't there?
Mm-hmm, for
There's
sure.
a lot out there. I mean, I think they of course, obviously the right wing, they have the money, so that's the reason why they are as influential as they are. They are the ones who can do the commercials. They can
fund radio shows.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they can fund a whole radio show, whole commercials, whole TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
They have the money so that they're the ones that everybody knows about. I'm, for one, am happy that we have the internet and we have the social media that we have nowadays so that we can give the progressives a voice. And even though we don't have any money like that, like they do, because the internet and its influence, we can actually have a voice. And I think that's the whole reason why the progressive movement is moving the way that it is.
Sure.
I think internet has changed the entire world when it comes to that. We can actually do a lot more research into things. I mean, think about back in the day, all people had when it came to news was watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and whenever you think about, watching CNN or watching Fox, MSNBC, and that being the only news I got, I mean, how dumb would you be if that's all that you watched? I mean, all the misinformation they give you.
Well, speaking to the difference in funding, which we'll talk about this later on, but at the anti-Trump pro-peace rally, the Macon County Republicans stocked the other side. I mean, they had a merch stand. They had all professional signs, flags. Then you look over at the pro-love side, we've got recycled cardboard signs with markers, but we had a stronger presence just because we had more passion and we had more dedication. But how much bigger and better could our side have been if we would have had support from the other liberals in the area that maybe aren't progressive,
right? Are just scared, I guess, to come out. I mean, or they're so used to being stepped upon and to be being overlooked that they don't even feel like getting out and showing their support for something like that anymore. But I mean, with the whole movement that we're doing, it's all about people power, and we need as many people as possible. Because we can change everything.
Right.
I mean, there's so much support for the progressive movement right now. I think that as long as people just come out and really show their support, we can make a change. I mean, we can do it. And with the whole Republican right-wing side with the Trump rally, I mean, they're all about the money. That's the reason they had that merchandise, right? They're trying to make a little cash.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's all that they're thinking about. They don't care about the little people. They just want to make their money. That's what they think about. Right? So that's who we are. And we have a guest here sitting in with us, Justin Weaver. He is the president, the co-chair of the Central IL DSA. Justin, would you like to speak on what the DSA is for, what it is, and what it stands for, and why we do what they do?
Yeah, sure. My name is Justin Weaver, as Cameron mentioned. I'm one of two founding members of the Central Illinois DSA. We started out as Macon County DSA, then Macon Logan DSA, and then we picked up all surrounding counties, including Springfield, and became Central Illinois DSA. I think it's best to go over some of the things we've been a part of to really explain who and what we're about. Our very first initiative was getting involved with Jacob Jenkins and the Black Chamber of Commerce for their Gardens Not Guns / Emma Urban Gardens project. We gave a donation in the form of time, labor, and a little bit of money. We helped plant quite a few seedlings, and we went over to the Morgan Street Gardens and planted them. We also had our own bed out there with our own plants. Unfortunately, a few groundhogs kind of ravaged that garden. They are pretty prominent here in Decatur, pretty widespread.
Yeah, I've seen those little things just running around. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just see one that they're cute to me.
Yeah, not as cute when they're destroying
Not-
your
not-
social justice garden.
Or was it tearing the wiring out from under your house?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pacifist by nature, but I was kind of wanting to kill those groundhogs by the end of it. But so that was our first initiative, and as that kind of conveys, is we have a strong interest in social justice for every disenfranchised peoples, whether it's Black folk, LGBT folk, the Latinx community, you name it. We're for the little guys. Our enemy is the 1% that's exploiting all of us. And in fact, the reason why there's Black hatred in the white community or homophobia is a tool of the oppressor to keep us fighting each other rather than banding together and fighting them, the true enemy.
And it's worked so well over
Oh
the
my
years.
God,
Man. It's
it's
so upsetting when you
Yeah.
look at how
Oh.
well it has worked.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
they know what they're doing. Unfortunately, a few more things we've been heavily involved in. We've had multiple city council protests where a few dozen people would come out. We had our pro peace anti-Trump rally. We had our anti-war rally that was organized just maybe 2-3 days after the assassination of the Iranian general. And I was pretty impressed particularly by that because we got about 30 to 50. I think WAND said up to 70, which I don't think it was quite that much. Thank you, WAND. But we got that amount of people out in 3 days' time. That's good mobilization. Like, people...
it came together extremely quickly. I mean,
Yeah.
we had to get our voice out the moment it happened.
And let me say, it was bitterly cold. And people are still out there, man. Yeah.
People are against the war, man. We spend way too much money on the military and the industrial complex, and they don't want this. They don't want to see our people dying over there. I mean,
I think probably every one of us knows at least one person that's been destroyed by our fraudulent wars. I used to take care of a guy who was paralyzed from the neck down. I mean, my own father was a Vietnam vet, drank himself to death, liver cirrhosis, because of the horrors he faced in the Vietnam War. When we have these wars, you're going to have sickness forever in the form of these damaged folk coming back in our communities. So this isn't just about the loss of life, which it is about that too. But these folk come back here and then they're basically poisoned for the rest of their lives, and it's a great tragedy.
And they're not taken care of. I mean,
No, absolutely
I don't
not.
know how much money we're spending on the military, but we have all these military, vets on the streets, and their suicide level is so high.
Oh, it's through the
I
roof.
mean, it's upsetting. We spend all this money on the military, but we can't take care of those people. Come on.
No, it's a great tragedy, and it should be criminal.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other things that we're involved in. We are heavily involved in local electoralism. We're going to be helping with Will Wetzel's campaign for city council. We're going to be on the ground knocking on doors for Stephanie Smith for Congress for IL 13. We're going to be out there knocking on doors for Bernie. And I saved this one for last because this has been kind of the biggest DSA spin-off. And that was it's our cannabis justice work that we've done. Lisa Kendall, our co-chair, was the founder. It was her brain. I should say her idea, but it has been a coalition because I don't want to say it was just one person. But it was kind of a DSA spinoff. Without DSA, I would say it's not controversial to say that it never would have gotten off the ground. But they've done. I'm a little involved, not as much as most other people, but we are getting the question on the ballot for the November election, and we're going to let the people vote on whether we should have canna-business in Decatur. Because what we saw, and I'd ask Mark Girdler to talk more on this because he's been heavily involved with this, but we, even more so than just having the canna-business, we feel like, especially as DSA, democratic, we are very, very in favor of democratic, having the people have a voice in their government. And we think that the people should get to choose. Every poll I saw had canna-business as wildly popular. 8-1 margins, sometimes up to 10-1 on every poll. So our city council, when they voted against this, they were blatantly ignoring the will of the people. This was not controversial with our citizens. This was cut and dry. We wanted canna-business because the people here know we need the revenue. Mm-hmm. 8 years ago, when I moved in the city proper, I grew up in Mount Zion, but 8 years ago, my property tax bill was about $1,300. Now it's $2,100. That's about a third increase in 8 years. That's insane. And some people can afford it, but others can't. Like, we have a lot of poor folk in the city.
We might as well just keep talking about the cannabis issue that we have here. I mean, why, Mark, did we not get here? What was the biggest influence on why the city council didn't want cannabis here in Decatur, Illinois?
I think it was, obviously, the Buffett Foundation would be a huge influence on it, but I think more so that wouldn't have even been an option if we didn't have people in leadership who wished that we lived in Mayberry or some Leave It to Beavertown. They wouldn't have even been open to the idea of it. So I think while he's just taking advantage of these super closed-minded people, if they don't set the table for somebody like him to come in, that would have never happened. But yeah, I definitely think that and it just seems like the more you look into it, it's just this spiral of this never-ending, favors and backroom deals, and it's almost like overwhelming just to try to make sense of it.
Is. I mean, the mayor already said that she doesn't care about the will of the people. She said she's made her mind up on this subject, and she says she's going to say no matter what. Right? Even if the people come out in droves and say we want cannabis in Decatur because we need the revenue and people want to use it. I mean, as they should be allowed to use it. I mean,
and I think as a community, and this is something we have to work on pretty quickly here, is that if they vote no on this after we get the referendums put through, we have to come together as a community and say we're not going to let Julie Moore or Lisa Gregory or who else in 2023 come out and say, oh, well, now we're really leaning toward, now that we need your votes, we can't let them leverage that.
No.
We need to make it clear that if you vote no on this, you cannot, you're done with us.
Right.
Because I think it'd be very easy to get other people in there and get it opted in on day one.
Oh, absolutely.
When the new people come in, and then that's it. And then we don't have to deal with them for another, But I think some of them are definitely looking at it like, well, we'll keep this in our back pocket, and when we at re-election time, we'll bring it out again.
They're thinking way too much of themselves. They're always thinking about what can they use for their election campaign, and not about what they're actually put there to do, which is serve the people.
Right.
They're always out for themselves.
They claim that we can take a wait and see approach, but us Decatur citizens know what that does. We have them all in Forsyth.
Right.
We made a little boom town there with our money. This is yet another money siphon we're going to have on our community. Memorial bought DMH, my employer. I will full disclosure. So our healthcare dollars are going out of city. Same areas. It's already owned by a healthcare conglomerate. So that's money that goes out of our city. ADM's no longer headquartered here. That's more money out of the city. Cat's not owned here. They're in Pure Morton. We don't have much local industry anymore. Mueller, that was like a world leader in plumbing parts. They're not here anymore. Or they're not owned locally anymore. So that was like a big deal to me, even more than the cannabis. Let's be honest, most people are still buying from their street dealers. Whatever. It was about the Democratic part, ignoring the will of the people. This should be controversial that she would openly say, "I don't care what the people think."
Yeah.
That should have been.
She's
That
a
should have
whole
been a
politician. She's an elected official saying, "I don't care about democracy.
I'm
going to vote
50,000.
no
I
because
don't care about 70,000.
Yeah,
because of personal interests." And that's completely undemocratic.
that should have been WAND's headline. That should have been
Agreed.
Herald and Review's headline.
And if you notice, when these stories get outside of that Decatur bubble, people take notice of them.
Oh yeah.
So it's just as activists, just as citizens, we have to not get broken down by the fact that the newspaper's not listening, the radio's not listening, to know that there are people beyond our little scope here in Decatur that when they hear these stories, they will run with them.
Yeah, with our activism, getting out there and actually having the protest and being out there, we caught national eye. And we've had Bernie Sanders talk about us here in Decatur, talking about how a third party's dollars are influencing our city council. If we just get out there and let people know that our presence is here, people will take notice.
Oh, they do. And let me tell you, once monthly, I am on a conference call with DSA national leaders, and they've heard about what we're doing in D.C. The DSA has. That's how well known we are. For one, we are one of the quickest growing DSAs in the country. I think we're already the second largest in Illinois after Chicago. And
how long has DSA been really working here?
Our first meeting was early July, wasn't that right? Yeah. Early July. That's how hungry people are for this movement. It's been incredible. We're way more successful than even my wildest fantasies would have predicted.
Well, it puts it into perspective when you think of what we've been able to accomplish, because you guys were doing your thing from July till the cannabis thing. I was doing my thing from June, July to the cannabis thing.
Yeah.
But if you really look at what we've accomplished as a group, all of that has been since the cannabis town hall. A lot of the big issues are. So if we can do that in a few months, they're done.
Yeah. They built a house of cards. They were banking on the fact that no one was watching and no one was caring. And boy, they've been in for a rude awakening. You can go to those city council meetings and just read the dread on their faces. They know, like Lisa Gregory. She thought she had a Congress run in her. She knows. Yeah. She knows it's dead. It's gone.
Well, and you got Kuehl. People come up to me and they're like, "I was talking to Chuck Kuehl last night. He told me he knows he's lost 800 votes." And I'm like, "Well, that's a pretty conservative number.
Yeah,
I think he's lost a lot more than that." But if he's talking about these things in his personal life,
he's worried.
Yeah.
I would say, man, he better really lean on that corrupt pack.
He better bring a war chest.
Yeah, Steve Horvey really better open up that pocketbook, man. And for the folks at home that don't know, Steve Horvey, is he one of the main contributors to the Central Illinois pack?
Well, to keep it completely above board, Steve Horvey Builders was a big donator to the Central Illinois PAC, as was Decatur Conference Center, which is owned by, I don't know whether it's owned by Steve Horvey or Steve Horvey Builders.
Okay.
So just so that nobody misunderstands, the the contributions that I saw were from Steve Horvey's businesses rather than personally. And I only say that just because that way nobody takes it out of context, just so that we're clear
Be
on
as transparent as possible.
Yeah. And who else has Central Illinois PAC contributed to?
Lisa Gregory, Julie Moore, Beth Nolan, Beth Crichton. It's a Legion of Doom.
He has the city council. Basically, he has 2 members and a mayor.
Right. Well, I don't think he's the linchpin of the Central PAC. That would be Burn Cotter.
Yeah. And then, of course, HGB. I mean, he doesn't even need introduction, does he?
Mm-mm.
Do we want to talk about any of that in this first episode?
I think it'll. We'll probably have to cover cannabis more than one time. So I think just as that story unfolds naturally, it will.
Right.
A lot of that will weave into it.
Yeah, we'll talk about him.
But we should definitely say to check out if you haven't read it yet, to check out the article from The Intercept. That was about what was going on here. It's definitely a good resource to get you real quick caught up on his direct involvement in the cannabis situation here.
It was a very well written article, and
just the whole fact that the Buffett Foundation really gave $500,000 just to have a DUI officer here in Decatur, Illinois. I mean, it's unprecedented. I mean, he would do that, and that the city council would say, yeah, even though there was staunch opposition against it at their meeting.
That was the highest African American turnout I've seen at a city council meeting. I think the room was about half African, almost half African American, wasn't it, Mark?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
much more.
A lot of passion. Because they knew they were going to get targeted. They were going to get screwed by this.
They've already been targeted this entire time. I mean, African Americans in the country in general have always been a target.
Yeah.
I mean, and now you're clearly showing a wealthy individual saying, "Hey, let's target them more," even though you went against my will and you made it legal here in Illinois, but we're still going to target you guys because I don't like you.
And even the city's press release on it specifically zoned right in on cannabis. Right. But then whenever it became an issue, they were like, oh no, this got nothing to do with cannabis.
And it was brought up, I brought it up myself at the city council meeting. I mean, Horn, he said, even though he voted for it, saying this entire thing was focused on cannabis, but he still voted for it. I mean, they wanted to act as if it was about the DUI and about maintaining health. It's not about that. They know it's about cannabis.
His vote seemed really naive to me because he was basically telling us, like, hey, listen, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. That's what it seemed like to me. Like, they're not worried about cannabis users. And I'm like, but the city press release. And he's like, yeah, the city press all of the materials on this point directly to targeting cannabis users, but I'm going to hope that everything works out okay with this and that nobody dies.
Yeah.
Just our faith that's carrying things now.
This guy who's been an outspoken anti-cannabis mouthpiece, we're supposed to suspect or just allow that the thing that he's funding is not going to be going after cannabis users. It's mind-blowing amount of naivete to me.
And you have to mention the fact that after all of these people got up, and let's be real, it's hard to get up and speak at these things because you're putting yourself under a microscope.
It is. It really
many people turned out and said that the black community in Decatur felt targeted by this officer. And Chuck Kuehl's response was, "Let's call Buffett and see if we can get two of them."
Yeah, that's how tone deaf these people are. Like,
does he think that's just going to get people to stop coming? If he's like, now listen, I'll turn this car around and I'll bring in 2 vigilantes to come after you.
And anyone that's honest knows alcohol is the issue with DUIs. It's not cannabis.
But Buffett doesn't care about that.
Hell, he's
alcoholic slushies at the Devon Amphitheater, but you can't dance. Just keep drinking, but please don't stand up, and please don't dance.
Footloose town. Is there anything else you'd like me to say about DSA, Cameron?
No, not much. I mean, I think you covered a good amount.
Would it be okay if I mentioned some of the things we stand for real quick?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
okay. This is in our About Us section on our Central IL DSA page. I just want to touch on it briefly, just so there's no real confusion about who we are. We're a local advocacy and community group. We have 2 broad categories of focus: direct community action, such as, rallies. We're talking about doing some co-ops here soon. The Gardens Not Guns, that's direct action. And we advocate for progressive policies that help all of us, help the 99% of working folk. We also wish to promote the following: solidarity with our LGBTQI brothers and sisters, solidarity with minorities, anyone else facing discrimination. We are big proponents of a Green New Deal. Climate change is real, and it is a problem. We want to abolish ICE, end separation of children from their parents. We're also heavily in favor of Medicare for all. Our healthcare system is a joke at best. Police accountability, making community and public colleges tuition free, reforming and forgiving student loan debt, getting big money out of politics, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, legalizing cannabis at a federal level, and we're pro-labor and also anti-imperialism. That's kind of a big platform, but I feel like it's pretty popular.
It's all common sense stuff that we should have done.
It really is. It really is.
It really is.
We're anti-cruelty, pro-humanist. I mean, that's really what it's all about.
Especially when you get down to a local level. I mean, I don't know how people could argue against anything that we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's like one of the things that we're talking about is trying to get election holiday here, so we can get more people involved in our democratic processes.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. I mean, we got all these politicians. Every one of them talks about, hey, they want to have more voters out there. But I mean, why not make Election Day an actual day off? I mean, a lot of states have already done it. I mean, what they've done is they've replaced Columbus Day, which is a horrible day, trying to celebrating Columbus, who we all know who he was. He wasn't a good guy. And replacing it with something as patriotic as Election Day, and then everybody had the day off to simply focus on who they want to elect. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean,
which
it's
terrifies our city council.
Oh, it does. I mean, the more voter turnout you have, the less they're going to get voted in.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
how much support did Julie Moore get? I mean,
16.3% turnout, and nobody got 50% of the vote except for Rodney Walker.
I mean, that's dismal. I mean,
3,000 votes would probably get you on city council in a normal situation.
A huge voter.
With a lack of a mandate like that, I would not be up there saying I don't care what the constituents think.
Right.
That's just me, but
I mean, just to think that Bernie Sanders, who we're going to talk about here soon, he brought up in 2014 actually doing this, and it went nowhere because of the right-wing led Senate. I mean, just says, no, we don't want as many people voting as possible.
No.
We don't want that.
No, they don't.
They're actively always trying to use voter suppression and stop people from voting. They don't want everybody to be able to vote. I mean,
well, especially in Decatur, because then we would find out that, hey, we have 20 times as many people as the elites. And that would be it. That would be they would be done for good then, because we would know that we could put in candidates that were best for the people, not best for everybody's favorite real estate agent.
Right now, as it stands, the people that get out on these municipal elections are the Westenders and some of the folk in South Shores and along the lake, like Chuck Cool's tennis club, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's it. So we get our people out. We're taking city council. We're taking at least a seat, and that's a conservative estimate. I think we might even get all three. Sorry, David Horn, but I didn't like your DUI vote.
I wouldn't mind if he got back in, but I'm fully willing to, if we can get somebody in that's actually, more people minded and not so But then he has those little bursts where he's so anti-establishment, and then it just fizzles out.
Oh, I know. He broke my heart with that one. He really did. Mm. And Bill Faber, he talks like he's a voice of reason, but he almost always votes with the majority.
He's the same way.
That disappoints me because he's a member of my church, Unitarian Universalist, along with a couple other local politicians. I've spoken with him many times. Really nice guy. he wants to do what's best, but
Yeah, I think that he's just being influenced, or maybe he's even scared to
yeah.
do the right thing. I mean, and if we had more people on city council who were progressive, I think maybe he would change. Maybe he would
I
actually
do
start
too.
voting yes because hey, I have other support there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can actually say yes.
I think if we get 2 seats in this next election, Faber and Walker will start making the right decisions.
It was Walker the only voice who said no against the DOI officer.
Well, and he voted against dispensaries, but he did vote for the cannabis businesses, which even just that would have been a huge boon for our community to get those businesses.
And he was in favor of a referendum, to his credit.
Yeah, right.
He does talk about wanting to follow the will of the people. And that's why I do have hope for Rodney. And he seems like a pretty nice guy. Like, he's just kind of been thrown into a position that he might, no offense, Rodney, but might not have been completely ready for.
And it was so close to, like, him first coming in, too, because this is his first year.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure he's going to get
last
better.
year was his first year.
With time.
Yeah. All right, so that was the DSA. That was Justin Weaver. Thank you for speaking. I'm figuring you're going to be here the entire time. You want to keep chiming in on everything we got to say.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead.
Hey, and thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm sure you'll be here many other times.
I hope to be.
So just move on to a national topic. So obviously as we've talked about, we endorsed Bernie Sanders, and everything that DSA basically stands for is everything that Bernie Sanders is pushing for. I mean, we need universal health care, we need police reform, we need to do something about the military-industrial complex, everything that he's pushing for. We need tuition from free college. We need. I mean, it's not even. I hate saying the word free because I mean it's actually using our goddamn tax dollars to pay for our future.
For something that actually benefits society instead of throwing it away bombing poor brown children.
Mm-hmm.
What a concept!
There's nothing free about it. We paid for it.
Exactly, and it's always what the right wingers want to go on TV and say. Oh, they want free everything. No, they're just using that word to as propaganda and make it look like we're trying to get free everything. No, we're paying our tax monies to actually use it for us.
It's pretty rich when the boomers will talk about free college. When these guys got education for the price of a Big Mac.
Yeah, they don't want to talk that. We bring that up. The millennials bring that up. Like, you got everything for basically cheap, and now we have to pay out the ass for it, and now we're the bad guy. Come on now.
Yeah,
well, not just that, but when they went to college, not only was it cheap, it was guaranteed success pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Because there were so few people that were doing it. Now you're paying an astronomically higher rate for it and getting almost nothing getting no stability.
You don't need a degree, a bachelor's degree does you nothing right nowadays. I mean, you can get in wherever, it doesn't matter.
And then the right wingers will say, "Oh, well, just get a skilled trade." And well, I have 3 skilled trades. I've already graduated from Richland once, and I'm still having to go back for nursing because that's something that doesn't get laid off. In my old position, thanks Rauner, he dried up a lot of our work for the plumber pipe fitter union. So I left to become a nurse, and that sucked. I enjoyed plumbing. I still enjoy it. That's the broken system we have. Yeah,
and Bernie Sanders, all he's trying to do is fix this broken system. He started this whole progressive movement, and just with our Bernie Sanders endorsement and talking about current events, I can't remember. I know I read about it, I think it was yesterday, but the whole Elizabeth Warren issue that recently came up with her saying that Bernie Sanders said that a woman cannot become president. I mean, it was a complete smear. I mean, if you look at Bernie Sanders' history, I mean, he's talked about, hey, I definitely believe that a woman can be president. I mean, he said that he didn't say that. I mean, we even have video of him saying it back in '88, saying that he sure thought that women can be president, and he's always thought that. Can we play the video? Just have him saying it.
Community would put money into his campaign and would say, boy, it's time for a black president. The real issue is not whether you're black or white, whether you're a woman or a man. In my view, a woman could be elected president of the United States. The real issue is, whose side are you on? Are you on the side of workers and poor people, or are you on the side of big money and the corporations?
There it is. I mean, he said it there.
Pretty clear.
We have another video of him saying it. I mean, and we can play that one too if we can. I mean, he's said it plenty of times. I mean, why are CNN, MSNBC, everybody trying to say and smear Bernie Sanders? What it seems kind of wrong.
I think saying it back in '88, these were not exactly known for the feminist times either. He has always risked his own neck for these bold progressive stances he's taken.
He was talking about these progressive stances before he became president, before he became a congressman.
Yeah.
You know, he was out there fighting the good fight. I mean, why now are we talking about? Oh, he's changed. He's not the good guy. He doesn't like women
because he's the front runner.
Exactly. And the rich, the powerful, even the corporate Democrats, they're afraid of what's going to happen once Bernie Sanders becomes president, which he will become president because people want him, and he has the receipts over all these years of doing the right thing, always voting on the right issues, being against the Iraq war, being against the war that Trump's trying to get us into now. He's always been there, and I mean, it's upsetting whenever you look at CNN and MSNBC and all these, and Fox News not even as much as CNN and MSNBC, but I mean talking about how bad trying to blank I can't remember what the word is that they did in 2016, not show him or show that he deliberately lie about where he is in the polls. Just to try and make sure that they don't get him elected. It's really it's horrible what they're trying to do to him.
They did some pretty dirty stuff in 2016. They even, do you guys remember World War II propaganda of the stereotype, the Jewish caricature?
Yeah, I remember.
They made shirts at the DNC convention with Bernie Sanders in that caricature.
Yeah.
That, for a party that says that they take a stand against racism, that was dirty.
It was completely dirty what they did. I mean,
and
they had
that was a big part of centrist Democrats losing the millennial vote too, because we saw what they did to Bernie. And Bernie is a good guy. He has fought the fight his entire life. And we didn't like what they did.
No, in 2016. I mean, I think I want to say that it's common knowledge, but a whole lot of people, it's not common knowledge that the DNC rigged it against Bernie Sanders. I mean, all the delegates super delegates that they just gave Hillary Clinton. I mean, they clearly Hillary Clinton was taking all that money. She was their person. They gave her millions of dollars, and Bernie Sanders, with one of his whole campaign. Issues is getting money out of politics, which is extremely important. Trying to get rid of Citizens United and everything like that. Just not taking money from any PACs and just using the people, support for them. I mean, they said, "Hey, we gave Hillary millions of dollars. She's got to be the person."
Speaking of, has anyone donated to Bernie?
Oh, I have.
I've donated several times. Small dollar, but. Yeah, every time I see them smearing them, I donate. One more time.
It's like whenever you're like watching like a movie and you're just drink every time they say this, okay? Every time they smear him, pay some money, give him something.
I know Anna had been was a kind of an early Warren supporter and then kind of quickly soured, and I'll see on Twitter every once in a while she'll post something where every time Elizabeth Warren asks her for money in an email, she donates that money to Bernie Sanders.
And as Travis, our producer, might remember, I was going for Warren early on this year. I did like that she had these really wonky policies for everything.
She had some better actual policies than Bernie did. I think all the policies that she was basically running on were stuff that Bernie started in 2016. But she had a few things that were actually better than Bernie with her, like a child care initiative that she was pushing. She had a few policies. I'm not sure if she was actually going to stick to them.
Yeah, that's the issue. We saw what she did in 2016. She did not endorse Bernie, the person whose policies she has largely co-opted. She endorsed Hillary. So that says a lot. Your mouth can say one thing, but actions always speak louder. So I don't know what she would do once she got elected. Would she still have progressive policies? Or would she be another centrist like Hillary?
Yeah.
Bombing the Middle East, getting her Wall Street friends even richer at our expenses.
I want to say I definitely watched Elizabeth Warren, and I thought she was good. And I definitely don't think that she's necessarily bad. She's way better than Joe Biden
or
Buttigieg. She, with this whole, I thought she was good. But then she comes out and she says this, and she won't even give any kind of context of what it was about. I mean, she says no comment. I mean, she's just letting the left corporate Democrats run with it to smear Bernie, and they're supposed to be friends. Bernie has taken the high road on everything Elizabeth Warren related.
And what she is really failing on is what the millennial and Gen Z generations value more than almost anything is authenticity in politicians. We're sick of all the lies. We're sick of all the bullshit, BS. And someone that flip-flops to us, that's toxic. It's just...
Or records those awful videos where they're trying to be a regular person. And it's like, oh, here's my husband in my house. And it's like, wait, what? Of course he's in your house. Oh, and you're drinking a beer? Who cares? Like,
oh, yeah. And it always looks so unnatural.
Like, I know. How do I hold this? It's like handing a cigarette to somebody that doesn't smoke.
Oh, God,
like, the different ways people try to hold a cigarette. You can tell whether they smoke or not.
Yeah. Did you ever see when John Kerry filmed himself going, like, goose hunting? Oh, that was... This might be before your guys' time. I've followed politics for probably 20 years, 30 years. But, oh, God, man. It does more damage than it does well.
I mean, I don't know. If it did so much damage, they probably wouldn't do it. I feel like they did good things for, like, the older generation.
Yeah.
But now the newer generation is looking at, like... what are you doing?
That was the only, even back in Kerry, I mean, the volume of material people had access to, even on the internet back then, was just a fraction of what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say, oh, Elizabeth Warren is, pretend like she's this kind of, chill party chick. Well, now we have all these years of footage to find of her where, she's not like this. She's like Peggy Hill or something.
I think it's interesting to see what they were doing back in, like, the Vietnam Civil Rights era. Bernie marching alongside the civil rights.
Yeah.
I can't remember what Joe Biden was doing, but Warren was actually a Republican. Oh, what was the corn pop thing?
Corn pop. He was the lifeguard, I think, was the deal, and some guy with a knife was threatening people, and he stood up to him.
It's like, why? We know you're full of crap.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to that, I mean, I always want to say that people can change. They can, but I mean, when you've been doing this for so long, and then suddenly you're running for president and you're switching up, oh no, I wasn't for any of that now. It's pretty obvious what you're doing. You want the votes, you want to win, so now you'll say whatever the hell you want to say to get those votes. And it's so bad.
No matter how many people's hair you have to smell.
How many women you have to weirdly hold on to.
I can tell you, just from someone I like to consider myself politically savvy, Biden is Trump's dream, getting up there. He's going to wreck him. Because his side doesn't care about the sexual assaults and all the problematic things. They just see a white guy up there and doing the Lord's work, and they don't care what he's done. Our side does, though. We don't like it when our candidate has sexually assaulted people or has been creepy Joe. That's going to really cool our turnout, and Trump knows that. He's very stupid, but he is canny whenever it comes to appealing to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah, and what Trump is good at, and the reason he became president is because he's entertaining. I mean, he's an entertainer. He's a TV host. I mean, he was at WrestleMania. I mean, that's what he does.
He trolled all the other Republicans right out of the race.
And
Marco Rubio. I mean, no one ever take Marco Rubio seriously, even little Marco.
And everybody in the whole, going back 2016, everybody thought that Jeb Bush was going to be the guy. Okay, Trump destroyed him so easily.
Man,
he got nothing.
Low energy Jeb, exclamation mark.
He had nothing. And that's what the right wing like. They want people who are entertained and who are going to speak their mind, right? They want entertainment value. That's the reason they voted for Trump, because they want to see something entertaining. They don't want, they're not looking at the policies and what he's actually doing for them. It's just he's entertaining. So let's go ahead and elect him.
If you look, the left has some people like that are very outspoken and very colorful and entertaining, but they're also putting the work in
Right.
like to get things done. Like AOC is extremely colorful and outspoken,
charismatic.
but she's
Yeah.
like
Fantastic.
actually trying to do what she said she was going to do instead of just like
She's using her powers for good.
yes, but remaining a colorful figure
Right.
in the process.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
She's an actual person,
I love
and
her.
that's a beautiful thing. And she's actually
Yeah.
still doing the right thing, like looking out for people and not being corrupted by the
Well, and
money.
all the stuff that's come out about her, like all the videos and stuff, and she's just like, who cares?
Yeah.
And then the stories go away.
She's a BA, man. She's even taken on the DCCC. She told them, "I'm not paying dues." I was like, man, that takes some courage.
And the people have shown that they're going to back her, and she's going to stay around. Like,
And what she did was basically unprecedented. The person she defeated in her race,
It's like 12 year incumbents or something
yeah,
like that.
and he was powerful. And this little Latina chick, a waitress or a bartender,
Mhm.
she came from nowhere, from nothing, stomped him with people power.
Well, I think that her getting elected is going to be almost like a touchstone moment for a lot of people because they're going to be like, okay, people that are outside of the norm of what we think of with politicians can actually, make it in. Because I think when people talk about, oh, this person couldn't get elected, that's the first name that comes up. Is people
Right.
say, hey, if AOC could get in,
Heck yeah.
let's back the people we want to back instead of worrying about
Yeah,
electability.
going on into a different tangent, talking about AOC. You guys, I'm sure you guys have seen the squad. We have the squad who were just became the squad because they were just four progressive women who were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And then CNN wanted to make their own squad of conservative Democrats. And then the Republican, now they want to make their own squad
Oh God!
of rich white women who are who are in Congress, who are just pushing all the right wing stuff, and it's like, why? It's obvious what you're doing. They wanted to put the squad down so much, and then they wanted to make their own squad because they saw how good and successful they were doing.
As my
It's
daughter
pathetic.
would say, cringe. It's
Cringy.
just cringy.
Oh yeah, it's so sad.
There's nothing less cool than a group of old white Republicans.
The squad.
you're the right wing squad. You're progressive. You're the Democrat squad.
I want to say something on AOC's election. I think a lot of people have overlooked the fact that politics aren't static. There is a generational shift right now. The millennials are starting to assert their electoral dominance, and we're going to see more AOCs, not less. We're going to see less Bidens. We're going to see more people like the lady we endorse, Stephanie Smith. There's going to be more people like that coming out of nowhere, but they're going to get elected. And we're, just as the boomers have had power for, I don't know, the last 2 decades, 3 decades or so, we will start to assert our dominance.
Yeah. And speaking on that, I mean, I it's not everybody; it's just some people. But I think a whole lot of people who they're going for politics and going like campaigning. Like a whole lot of people, they don't necessarily want to do it. But they see that there's such a need and that the country is so corrupt that they step up and they answer the call and saying, hey, this has to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I'd much rather, I wanted to speak on this at the last city council meeting. Unfortunately, I was too late. But, I mean, I don't necessarily want to go to the meetings. I want to be at the gym. I want to be losing some weight.
I want to be playing Dead by Daylight.
Yeah,
I want to be living my life. But I want to know that the people in power are at least doing a passable job to where I don't have to check in.
And they're not. So we have to go now, and we have to make a change. And I think over the reason that they're so powerful and things have become so bad is because people did want to just live their lives, and they just wanted to live their life. They just wanted to let them do what they're doing. But now, because it's gotten so bad and they become so corrupt, that now regular citizens have to step up to the plate and they have to go, hey, you're not doing your job, so hell, let me go get up there and do your job for you, since you clearly don't want to do it correctly.
And these guys are so corrupt that even whenever they do quid pro quo, and this is like a textbook example, it could not be any more transparently quid pro quo than what Chuck Cool proposed with Steve Harvey, and he didn't even know he was doing anything wrong. It was corrupt.
It was like the internet, or like the meme where it says like nobody.
Yeah,
and somebody says something like, nobody at that meeting said anything, and then Chuck Hill goes, let's give that money to Steve Harvey. I couldn't believe I thought I was hallucinating or having like an acid flashback or something. I was like, you're going to advocate for your person. And that was before I knew he donated. I thought he was just like, I was like, how classless to say, let's give this to my good friend Steve Horvath. And Pat McGinn was like, that's a pretty strong conflict of interest. He said, man,
I trust
him.
I trust he'll do a good job.
I trust him. Can you imagine being a politician and you're just like, hey, yeah, I want to give my friend $100,000 of city money, but I trust him.
It's just blatantly tone deaf and just unaware.
It's clueless.
Yeah.
Like they don't. I don't think any of them understand how the Open Meeting Act works. I don't think any of them understand what FOIA is. I think
They
all
clearly
these
do not.
I think positions like Chuck Kuehl and I think even David Horn was kind of marginalized, and you're seeing that now. Certainly now that he's speaking up, they're pushing him away even more. But I think a lot of those positions, I think a lot of the Macon County Board seats, I think a lot of these like committees like the library board and stuff like that are appointed, these have all been Club Med jobs. It was just like you come in, you go along with the status quo, you get your name in the paper, it makes it look like you're involved in the community. But as soon as I started going to these meetings, it was like immediately recognizable, like these people have never had anybody show up to these meetings before. So it's like everything, they just shut down and like, circle the wagons to protect what they have.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're used to any pushback or any kind of like somebody being like, why did you vote this way?
No.
Because I think they're just used to saying, well, Julie told me to. That's all they can say. Chuck Kuehl has no idea what's going on with cannabis. That guy, he has no idea about it. He's just like, well, the sheriff's department sent me this thing that says drugs are bad. And my buddy, it'd be I can't think of a bigger outright insult
slap in the face
to our
Howard
sheriff,
Buffett.
to our former sheriff, who, by the way, no one voted for.
Appointed.
It's not our sheriff. We didn't vote for him.
He just happened to be appointed after he made a sizable
$4.5 million donation.
It was purely coincidence, guys. Just don't look at it at all.
Who knows why the former sheriff stepped down and was given an insanely highly paid position at a firm that was paid for by Howard Buffett? Let's just forget about that. I trust him.
Nothing to see.
I trust him.
Nothing to see here, guys.
So yeah, just kind of we went off on a tangent, but just to bring it back and wrap it up. The corruption is horrible. Bernie Sanders is the least corrupt politician that I've ever seen, and I think anybody, if you look at his history, that you've ever seen, and Bernie Sanders is not going to say that women can't become president. He clearly said it several times, many times. And Elizabeth Warren even saying that you've lost. I'm sorry. I loved you. I actually thought you were good, but you've pretty much lost my respect.
Refund Warren, man.
Well, let's be real. He could have done significant damage to Hillary in 2016 when he didn't get it. But he did the right thing for what he thought and went to the convention. I remember and pretty much said vote for Hillary.
Yeah, and he could have
rallied. He could have rallied all his supporters and really hurt him, but he didn't.
He always takes the high ground every single time. He's like whenever like they're at the debates, which there is a debate today. I do want to plug that. It's at 7:00, I believe, and I think everybody should watch it. It's the last debate before the Iowa caucus. It's a huge time. I think Bernie he's in the lead on the polls in the Iowa caucus right now. I think he's going to stay in the lead. I think he's going to get it.
And for folks that aren't familiar with the way the caucus works, it's a little different than just a regular election. You lock a bunch of people into a gym or church, and they have to agree on a candidate. And usually the most passionate supporters win these caucuses. And I can tell you hands down that's Bernie's people. Hands down. I have all the faith in the world that he's going to take Iowa. And he's probably going to take New Hampshire, which is the next one after that. New Hampshire's next door to his home state of Vermont. He's a known commodity in New Hampshire. Been there a lot.
Yeah.
So
And you'll see at this debate, I'm sure like most all the other debates, he doesn't want to rail on the other candidates, even though the moderators constantly always try and get them to fight each other.
Yeah.
He takes the high ground every single time and say, hey, let's talk about the issues. The people don't want to see us fight each other. I'm not going to badmouth my friend Elizabeth Warren. I'm not really going to badmouth Buttigieg or Biden, even though unless they're taking money and it's clearly wrong, talking about Biden.
If he speaks, even if you can consider it speaking down to them or whatever, but the only bad things I've ever heard him say are just facts of saying like you've taken this much money from this many billionaires, and Joe Biden's not quite as bad, but so it's all facts. So it's not like he's mudslinging or something.
best politician I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He got my vote. He's got many people's votes. I think the most. He's got the majority of the people in this country, I believe.
I'd say, and speaking for the DSA, I would say that it's fair that the DSA not only supports him, but the DSA would not be anywhere near what it is today without Bernie.
No.
His platform is basically our platform.
Exactly.
You could call us the Bernie Club, and some people do.
It's fine to say. I
Yeah.
mean, his platform, everything that he's talking about is just common sense. Healthcare for all. All these other major countries have it. Why the heck do we not have it? Because of the insurance companies making millions of dollars. They don't want to give up their money.
To say that we can't have it here is one of the most disingenuous things you can ever say. America is the richest, most powerful nation, maybe in the history of the world. Definitely today, we can have it.
We can have it easy. I mean, we can do free public college for all. We can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
the wealthy don't want to pay for it. That's our problem. There's plenty of money in the economy for us to get good things done, get infrastructure built, and everything we've mentioned. But the wealthy don't want to pay.
They want to hoard their money. That's all it's about.
If this was a fantasy novel, they would be the evil dragon sitting on a pile of gold in the nearest cave, and Bernie Sanders would be the knight in shining,
like, I'm
shining
going to take
armor.
you down.
Yeah.
We need that money. My village is starving, and we need it. So I'm going to do what I have to do and slay this dragon.
That's right. Did we want to do the fun topic? To kind of wrap up?
Yeah, sure. Move past that. We're going to talk about something fun. What did we just... We talked about the rally.
Trump rally, yeah.
We recently, I don't know, was it a month ago now? Was it 3 weeks ago? It
was December 27th, maybe?
So it wasn't even that long. Like, not even 2 weeks.
Wow.
2 weeks. We did an anti-Trump rally, and
pro-peace.
Pro-peace.
Yeah.
Pro-peace rally.
For Reed Suitman.
Which absolutely drove the Trump side crazy in the aftermath after the news coverage, because they felt like, the media is portraying the anti-Trumpers as being all peace-loving, and we're the peace lovers. And it's like, really? That's your take on the whole thing? Okay.
Yeah. No, the first one was pro-love, anti-Trump.
Pro-love.
The second one was pro-peace, anti-war.
Yeah, pro-love.
And I'll be honest, we might have been a little provocative marching through their rally.
I was not a part of that.
But it was not my decision. That was our membership and recruitment officer.
So yeah.
And we just followed him just because we didn't want to see him get basically curb stomped. But then again, they were almost all geriatric.
Yeah.
And we were a bunch of 20, 30, 40 something. So in a fight, I think we could have taken them.
I think on the fun side, one of the greatest things that came out of that was a video that was by two people. I'm not going to say their names because I don't know if they'd want their names said or not, but they didn't come to the rally, but they drove by because they wanted to be a part of it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not DSA members, but they're kind of DSA adjacent.
Friends.
Yeah, friends or allies.
We probably have as many friends of DSA as we do actual members. Right. Some people are really gray, like Reed. He's kind of half in, half out. Definitely a friend, though. But yeah, please continue.
And they just pulled up to the stoplight and just basically berated the Trump people. It's the funniest thing. If you go to the DSA page, I'm sure we can get a link there on the Progressive AF page. Maybe we can get that video put up. But it's a dash cam of them just yelling at the Trumpers, and they tell them to read the transcript and all this stuff. And I was standing on the side of the road, and I couldn't hear what was going on inside the car. So I think it was me and I'll say Rihanna maybe and Greg. Mm-hmm. We were standing there, and we saw this car pull up, and all this chaos unfold around. I was like, "What's going on in that car? I gotta know!" And then, lo and behold, it was people we knew inside the car.
It was funny because you have this nice. They're not a couple; they're just friends, I believe. But I think they're maybe in their 40s. Just a couple nice folks, and they're just chilling, just light banter, and then they stop and roll down their windows, and just pure chaos. You all
look like a bunch of effing idiots. Is the opening line to it, and I mean to me that was anything else that happened. Everything was worth it for that video. And what's funny is I show that to people who are even like conservatives, and they don't get mad about it because they're having so much fun.
Right.
They're laughing while they're doing it.
Yeah,
They're just
yeah.
making fun of these people, and it's like they're not throwing stuff.
No.
They're not being hateful. They're just like, read the transcript,
It's-
grab them,
You just
grab
talk
them.
about facts, and it makes them go wild.
Speaking of conservatives, and I said this in one of my DSA videos, my fondest moment of both those rallies is, I don't know if you saw this, Mark, but for some reason the Trumpers, they think revving their engine at us
Yes.
is like the highest form of insult, or
Fist shaking.
I don't really understand it myself, but that guy, he's revving up his big dually truck, and then the green light hits, and he has to make a right turn, like, all of a sudden, and he almost wrecks right into the damn bridge.
Would have been perfect. The karma pin you immediately. That's
I'm
the
like,
instant
wow,
karma.
man, really owned us. How will the left recover?
Oh, he would have got out and come down and tried to grab us and blame us for it somehow, I'm sure.
Oh, like that Christian conservative tried to tag the sheriff on the post he made heckling us. Like,
Right, like if you're going to take the time to come to our page, take our image, share our event,
uh-huh.
and then be surprised when we show up and we're like, hey, why is somebody that's on the complete opposite end trying to draw attention to what we're doing?
Yeah, his motives were not good at best, and they could have been dangerous at worst.
If his motives were to promote his book, it was not a wise decision on his part.
One review, I believe, gave it a 0 out of 5 stars as literature, but a 5 out of 10 for toilet paper. So, I mean, if you're looking for some mediocre toilet paper, his book, I believe, was recommended.
Yep.
It's like it's expensive toilet paper.
But yeah, the guy was, I guess, just trying to intimidate us or something, and tagged the sheriff. Are these friends of yours? He says. And I posted the Dan Calkins thing in his thing. He's like, "What does this mean?"
He probably thought like we were like any other centrist Dems group, we'd just fold or crumble under his
that's
pressure.
not going.
And like he picked the wrong crowd.
Yep.
All right.
I
guys.
was really proud of our people, and we kept it pretty above the belt too. I'd say I think the worst comment we left was, I heard the book reviews weren't very good.
Yeah.
So we weren't that awful.
No.
So yeah, that I think kind of wraps up our first episode here of Progressive AF. Thank you, Justin, for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be here many other times. I guarantee it. This is me, Cameron, and Mr. Mark Gerler signing off for our first episode of Progressive AF.
And can we get a shout out to our executive producer that's been behind this show here?
A
yeah.
real inspiration.
Yeah,
He's
to
really
all of
set
us.
this up. I mean, without him, I'm
Travis.
not sure if this would have got off the field, honestly.
Yeah, we've been really kind of twiddling our thumbs for a while.
Yeah.
But Travis really lit the fire that got us going. So
Yeah.
thanks, Travis.
Thank you, Travis. All right, thank you for watching. I hope you come back to watch us again.
Or listen.
Listen, not to watch. Maybe we'll get that going sometime. But thank you for listening to us, and hope you guys have a good day.